What would 80-year-old Monica tell 50-year-old Monica?
Stop worrying so much, and the miracles haven't stopped. So get ready.
Welcome back to Hysteria, the podcast that knows a cake is not a cake without buttercream roses.
Exactly.
Monica Lewinsky, the world wants to tackle the manosphere, and I couldn't be happier that my new favorite podcast is yours.
Aw, thank you, honey. That means so much.
You have a podcast. Let's discuss. What made you want to talk on a microphone?
So the podcast is called Reclaiming.
Yes, it is.
And I think that really was the driving force, was this idea. I had this idea in my phone notes app for a long time around the theme of reclaiming. And I actually had been thinking that maybe I would write a book with that theme and sort of what would that look like. And then it became a lot more exciting to think about talking to other people about, stories rather than it just being focused on me. And I wish I had listened to a lot of people 10 years ago who were telling me I should start a podcast, and I didn't listen. But I really wanted to dive into stories with people. And I'm kind of a really curious person.
You are a curious person. Like, you're maybe one of the most curious people I know. And the beauty of your curiosity is that so of course, the minute you announced, I clicked follow, so you're in my feed. But when I went to the just main screen of Apple, girl, your podcast was like top 10 overall.
Aw.
Yes, ma'am.
That's nice.
I know. I just need everybody to know because everyone should be following. We had talked last summer. You were talking to me about, you were thinking of a podcast. You didn't say reclaiming. So how'd you pull the trigger? How did it come together?
I guess it was last year at some point or the end of 2023. I had made this decision. I wrote up a pitch over the holidays and started that sort of process, like everything where you think, oh, this will be done in 5 minutes. And instead 5 months later, you kind of end up in the right home and met with different. I feel like this is a very detailed answer. If you don't want super detailed from me. Oh my gosh, there was this great meme this morning on Instagram that it's like, my intention of telling a story, the street freeway, and how it really looks of, just kind of all the things. So to go back to it, I think for me, it was meeting with different outlets who produce podcasts, talking to them about this vision I had of having these kinds of open conversations with people who are both well known to us and people whose names we know less, but whose stories are just as interesting. So, and sort of both weaving in my own story, my own experience of reclaiming my narrative with all the elastic ways that people experience reclaiming, because it's a really universal experience.
It is. It's like when I listen to your podcast, I'm like, and we'll get to this, but you always ask people, what are they reclaiming? And I'm like, I am fully in the throes of perimenopause. And I'm like, I'm reclaiming my body. Like it is, I have felt out of control, and it hurt my mental health so much to feel so out of control that I do feel now like I am reclaiming my body. Like I am taking the steps. I'm like, this is what I'm doing. So your podcast made me think about what I am reclaiming.
Oh, good. Yeah, no, it's perimenopause. It's real. I feel so lucky that Gen X, that we're sort of getting to go through this in a way that's different than the older generations where nobody talked about it. It was silent sin. Right?
It feels very I feel grateful because we are so adjacent women who we see as our own age, right? People who are just like 10 years older than me, who did not have any of these sort of the accoutrements, some of the medications that we have.
Or even talking about perimenopause, like even the term perimenopause was, something that I think was new. And so then when you start to put the math together of like, oh, that time that I flew off the handle and went from 0 to 60 in 30 seconds. Oh, all my brain fog. Oh, my aches and pains. That's what it's about,
It is. So I'm reclaiming. So as someone who's been telling her story either against her will or on her own terms in recent years, how did you adapt or take charge of being the person who is asking the question?
I think my approach is actually really informed by my own experiences of both the times that I have felt really safe and comfortable having like I feel super safe and comfortable right now with you, Alyssa. You know, like and I even know that if you ask me something that made me feel uncomfortable, I know the intention is not that.
Right.
You know, and so I think that is in part a guiding force. And wanting people to feel comfortable, wanting them to feel safe, to have these sort of open discussions, because it, to me, off the microphone, off camera, the most magic that happens between people is when you find that place of vulnerability and openness and discussion and sharing, and that sort of the me too, me too, me too, me too. And you also, you know, bring your own perspectives, but then you start to unpack your perspectives and think about things differently too, which is really interesting. You know, I've loved that. Like so many of the conversations I've had so far, I walk away, thinking like, oh, I hadn't thought about it that way.
Right.
You know, so yeah,
it's I think
great.
What is so interesting too is that you are you're like pretty methodical with your outward presentation. You know, that is to say that like you try to think 10 steps ahead of what you're about to say before you say it. You know, you try to navigate and protect yourself against bloopers, unintended puns. And so like you tell a great story about your TEDx talk and the microphone. And so now that you're the interviewer, how does that work for you? Have you overcome it? Are you looser? But like as the interviewer, you're moving at a clip most of the time. So how do you resolve that? Or do you just work around it?
I think I'm a work in progress. So, I mean, I think I can already feel how much more comfortable. I think we just did my 13th interview yesterday. And so I already can see that I'm feeling more comfortable, trusting my own instincts, trusting what I share. I think I've been super sensitive to, without naming names, there's sometimes podcasts I've listened to where the host is a well-known person and I feel like they're talking too much and they're not letting their guests talk a lot. So I that's my constant fear. You know, I'll say to the team after, I was like, did I talk too much? You know, I just don't want to, overshadow the conversation or the guest stories. So it's,
do you know what I would tell you?
What?
I would tell you that I think you're a little too self-conscious about talking too much. And that would be my little bit of feedback on your podcast. I can tell there are parts in the interview where I can tell you have something to say and you sort of speed through your personal opinion because you want everyone else to speak so much. And we want to hear from you too. So you're not speaking too much.
All right. Thanks.
All right.
I'll try and remember that.
Okay. Hysteria is brought to you by Article. Article makes it effortless to create a stylish, long-lasting home at an unbeatable price. We love our Article. Erin loves her Article. Erin's got her outdoor furniture, which we've talked about all the time. I have some end tables. I have some little pieces of furniture in my bedroom. They were so easy to put together. They came. The shipping was seamless. And as of today, they've lasted for quite a few years. We are so grateful to have Article as a sponsor. Article offers a curated range of mid-century, modern, coastal, and Scandi-inspired pieces that not only shine on their own, but also pair seamlessly with nearly any other Article product. This thoughtful design approach makes it incredibly easy to mix and match, helping you create spaces that feel cohesive and stylish. Article takes great care in curating its collection, focusing solely on high-quality, meaningful pieces that will stand the test of time. There's no filler. Every item is chosen for its craftsmanship, design, and lasting value. You can immediately tell the difference in quality when you receive an Article piece. For example, Article has smooth edges, secure joints, sturdy hardware, and its fast and affordable. Article offers shipping across the U.S. and Canada with options for professional assembly if you prefer a hands-off experience. I do enjoy that when I need it. Have a question or need help with your design choices? Article's customer care team is available 7 days a week, offering knowledgeable support and even free interior design services to help you get your home just right. With Article's 30-day satisfaction guarantee, you can shop with confidence knowing that if you're not completely in love with your new furniture, you can easily return it. This peace of mind ensures you can invest in your home without hesitation. Article is offering listeners $50 off your first purchase of $100 or more. To claim, visit article.com/hysteria, and the discount will be automatically applied at checkout. That's article.com/hysteria for $50 off your first purchase of $100 or more. Hysteria is brought to you by Armor Colostrum. Everyone's looking for ways to be healthier and stave off winter illnesses. Give your immunity and gut health their best chance with Armor Colostrum. Discover the transformational health benefits of Armor Colostrum that have earned tens of thousands of 5-star reviews. Probiotics and other supplements are touted as a gut health solution, but most products on the market are dead before they even reach your gut. Armor Colostrum naturally fortifies your entire gut wall system and optimizes your whole body microbiome, which helps guard against irritants that can trigger digestive issues and compromise your immune system. Research has shown that colostrum helps to enhance nutrient absorption. Armor Colostrum can help stabilize blood sugar levels, modulate hormones, and ignite your metabolism. This enhanced nutrient absorption has been a long-prized benefit of elite athletes. Let Armor Colostrum help you reach your goals by promoting lean muscle building and fueling cellular repair regeneration to fuel better performance and faster recovery. Colostrum Bioactives has also been shown to reactivate hair follicle stem cells and activate collagen production, promoting hair growth and enhancing skin radiance. We've worked out a special offer for our audience. Receive 15% off your first order. Go to tryarmor.com/hysteria or enter hysteria to get 15% off your first order. That's tryarmra.com/hysteria. So because I was texting you, I loved your interview with Kara Swisher.
Thank you.
I find her to be one of the smartest people out there. I am so deeply intimidated by her that when I saw you had her on, I was like, brave. That is. No.
Can I show off for a second?
Yes, please.
She was my second interview.
Yes.
So that was the second one I conducted. And Kara, have you met Kara?
No, because I'm intimidated. I'm intimidated by her.
You two need to know each other. You need to.
Brooke is our connection, right? You and Brooke Hammerling, our friends, are our connection.
Exactly. And so we need to have dinner with Brooke, even though usually Kara, Brooke, and myself, I'm like, Charlie's Angels, we'll have a fourth. And you can
I can just be the mascot, okay? I can just be the mascot. So what is so interesting, so I have a two-part question. So I listened to the interview with Kara, who she's my must-listen next to you now every week. I listen to both of her podcasts. And I always learn so much from her, which is why I love her podcast. And it's not too political. I love learning about the business of it all. But so I listened to Kara, and then I listened to because I listened out of order. Then I listened to your interview with Olivia Munn and talk about her cancer diagnosis, which was actually so moving. I sat down in Hudson River Park and just finished the whole episode because I didn't want to pause it. So so this is how I feel though. I feel like you put a lot of effort into the podcast. Do you do a lot of research? Do you get nervous? And also, how do you approach interviews with friends? Because you and Olivia are friends. You and Kara are now friends. So I'm curious about that.
I do an enormous amount of prep and research. I'm also incredibly lucky to have a brilliant team that helps me. So I'm not doing everything myself. I'm metabolizing what I'm getting. I'm sometimes doing additional research. I'm talking things out with the other producers, hearing different ideas. I have an interview tomorrow and I was like, okay, this is the angle I'm really interested in. And just sort of gut check, or might say, okay, here are my own personal stories that came up as I was thinking about this. Does this feel resonant to someone or does this feel cuckoo? And so there's that part of it. Do an enormous amount of prep. I still get nervous. The sweating that happens.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the day that I finish conducting an interview on the podcast. And I'm like, oh, I could actually, sit next to somebody else and they would not die from my stink. Okay, awesome. So there's still the nervousness there. But I am feeling a lot more comfortable and I'm trying to trust my instincts more. And, and I think one of the things about just even the name reclaiming is that it's also my own reclaiming. This is my own, of finding my voice again in a different way, in a public way, in finding more of a identity as in a career too, So it's all those things. And then how do I deal with friends, which is I'm very mindful, in the same way that you are, right? I think I'm very mindful of like, okay, if I thought an area was sensitive to someone, I would ask them ahead of time, you know, just like, do you feel comfortable talking about this? You know, or I might say because not everything is, you know, like written out before you do it, obviously. And so I think that if something came up in the course of the discussion, I might phrase something of, you know, if you feel comfortable sharing about this, like if you want to talk about this, and give somebody an opportunity. And I think they know if I ask a question and they say they don't want to talk about it, it will be on the cutting room floor.
Totally.
You know? Because I mean, you know this, right?
Well, no, I've been doing this I've been doing this for 6 years. I still prep like a maniac. And a couple months, it was like September, I got to interview Speaker Pelosi. And wow. I was so, first
How did
of all,
I miss that?
I was so,
man?
I will send it to you.
Yeah.
I was so nervous because to me, she is like the elected version of Kara Swisher. Like she knows everything. There is nothing you don't want to ask trite questions. You don't, you want to ask sort of revealing questions, but then you don't want her to be like, you also know she's coming with a purpose. And I'll tell you, it was like an hour before the interview and I was with one of our friends at Crooked and I was like, I'm sorry, I need to have a glass of wine. I need to take it from a 10 down to a 5. I was sweating.
Or some wine.
Yes, yeah. I was sweating and I was like, so even 6 years later, I am still, and even for you, getting ready for today, you are my friend. We have known each other for years. And I still was like, you know what? I'm going to do even more than just have listened to her podcast, which we'll get to in a little bit. We're going to get into some things I have read. But here's an interesting, so here's what I want to know. Sky's the limit. I can think that anybody who would want to be on your podcast will be on your podcast. Who is a dream guest?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. And it's funny because I realized after the launch that sometimes when you're a public person and you say another like you want another public person on your thing, it becomes a thing. And I was like, oh God,
it's a good point.
You know, so I don't want to, there is a woman that you know very well for whom you worked in that administration that I just would love to talk to and think I would love to talk to Michelle Obama. That's like you said, pie in the sky. So I think she would be an extraordinary person to talk to in so many different ways. But Taylor Swift is another one.
Of course.
So. Right, I know. Like,
I mean, 10-minute version.
I know. I mean, the other person that we've sort of gone after, and not surprisingly, have yet to hear a response, just given how elusive they are, is Banksy. So I'd be super interested to talk to Banksy.
Okay, these are good.
I mean, the thing too is that, and what's interesting to me about Taylor Swift, and when I was pitching the show and I talk about the show, I think when I say the words like it's an elastic definition of reclaiming, you kind of go, oh, okay. But when I say I want to talk to Taylor Swift about Taylor's versions, then you sort of start to see that this is more than just a comeback story. Not that comeback stories are great, but it's not so much a hero's journey in a sense of like, it's this very contained thing. There are bajillions of reclaiming stories that are out there, and I want to hear all of them. It's just...
We're all here for it. I don't know if this falls into the bucket of reclaiming, but you have another project in the works, not a podcast, but it's with Amanda Knox. Mm-hmm. What are you allowed to tell us about your Amanda Knox project?
Well, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this or not, but we're in a phase of watching episodes, and in nascent stages, and I fucking sobbed this morning. I bawled. And I know that some of that for me comes from the crossovers of my own experiences, even though they're vastly different. DC, Perugia, I didn't go to jail, Amanda did. I mean, there's so many different things, right? But there's this underpinning that is around the societal story. And that kind of, and I know you know this, not from the experience, not from maybe your own personal narrative experience, but from having been the youngest assistant chief of staff.
Deputy Chief of Staff.
Deputy Chief of Staff.
Assistant to the President, Deputy Chief of Staff. That's so good.
Right. Sorry. Look how long I've been gone from DC. I forgot all the fucking names. But I mean, you have had such a unique place in the world of how you've been able to see the world and what's come across your perspective. So I know you understand this around stories, but these stories that are collective, that happen, these widespread global stories, it's so I just kind of each step of the way, I keep getting more and more excited for the world to see this.
And it's a scripted show.
Scripted dramatic show.
Scripted dramatic show. On Hulu.
Right.
Coming in 2024, 2025. Oh, it is 2025.
Oh, I know.
25, 26.
Actually, it's going to be 2020. So
okay. Oh, even better.
That I cannot say yet.
Okay.
So
fine.
I hope that it lands with people in the way that it's been landing with me.
And especially when you watch something that you've been so integrally a part of, you just, because this has been years in the making.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's very interesting. I feel, I mean, I know you've had this experience too as an executive producer, and it's very interesting to get to go inside an industry. And, and so I think like me, you've had this experience inside the world of politics. You've had this experience inside the world of entertainment, inside the world of media. I feel so grateful for that. I do.
I
really
what?
do.
It's funny. I do. It is a thing that, I always joke with young people who ever ask for quote unquote career advice that when I was their age, I didn't know that any single job I would end up having even existed.
Right.
Right.
Oh yeah. No.
At
but
all.
No one asked me for career advice. So, but it's true. It's like, there are all these worlds, but it's funny, what comes up for me is I remember when I was in college and I was a psychology major, and in one of our classes, the teacher was talking about, or did someone come in and talk about it? I can't even remember that part now. I just remember the moment in the, it wasn't personality theory. So it was a class that was about how psychological instruments are devised. And so, and all these different tests and things. And I just became super fascinated with this idea of being able to kind of almost codify what seems like irrational behavior, that you could somehow take all these people from different walks of life, give them a test, and it'll give you this information in a way that is, meaningful. And so that led me to want to do, that and Silence of the Lambs, led me to want to do testing, to do testing at the FBI.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is not where I thought you were going with Silence of the Lambs. I thought I was going to have to tell how impacted I was by Matt Damon and Ben Affleck's speech when they won Best Screenplay for Good Will Hunting. I'm like, you want to be a profiler. I get it.
Exactly. I'm like, I wanted to come to understand psychos.
Have you? You're pretty good.
I don't know.
Hysteria is brought to you by Manacora Honey. Are you looking for something simple and delicious to add to your wellness routine? Well, let me talk to you about the Manacora Honey. I have had a stomach issue for the past couple of months, and after doing a lot of research, decided to not even put it in my tea or shakes or salad dressings, which I had been doing, but I've been taking 1 teaspoon of my Manuka honey from Manacora Honey 2 to 3 times a day, and it's working better than almost any prescription that I'm taking to help me with my stomach issues. It's a holistic approach. I'm also taking my medication, but it has really been making me feel good. It gives me energy and helps my stomach not be my main focus of the day. Manacora honey is rich, creamy, and the most delicious honey you have ever had. Take my word for it. It's ethically produced by Manacora's master beekeepers in the remote forests of New Zealand. Manacora honey contains powerful nutrients to support immunity and gut health. The bees collect the nectar from the Manuka tea tree in New Zealand. The nectar is packed with bioactives, and the honey that is produced has 3 times more antioxidants and prebiotics than your average honey. A special antibacterial compound called MGO also comes from the nectar of the tea tree. Manacora third-party tests every single harvest for MGO and makes these results available through their QR system. It's a game changer. All you need is 1 heaped teaspoon, as I said, each morning to get the most out of the amazing bioactives in Manuka. Additional usage throughout the day is completely fine, especially helping to cut out sweeteners. It's a honey with superpowers. And now it's easier than ever to try Manukora honey. Head to manukora.com/hysteria to get $25 off the starter kit, which comes with an MGO 850 plus Manuka honey jar, 5 honey travel sticks, a wooden spoon, and a guidebook. That's manukora.com/hysteria for $25 off your starter kit. Hysteria is brought to you by Babbel. You say you'll learn a new language every year, but few of us actually commit to it. Babbel makes it easy for you to learn one in less time than you think. Now, I love learning new languages. I was raised to believe that we should not be just English-centric, that if we want to be good global citizens, we should be able to go to other countries and speak other languages. So I actually took French for 12 years, I think, 12 years. Took Japanese. I can speak a little Japanese. And my mom and her family speak German. And so I have actually been trying to brush up on my German with my Babbel, and it is going great. And I test it with my mom, who is she's a critic. Let's just put it that way. This year, speak like a whole new you with Babbel, the language learning app that gets you talking. Learning a new language is the pathway to discovering new cultures, so why not embark on learning something new? Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons, handcrafted by over 200 language experts, get you to begin speaking your new language in 3 weeks or whatever pace you choose. And because conversing is the key to really understanding each other in new languages, Babbel is designed using practical, real-world conversations. Spending months with private teachers is the old way of learning languages, and nothing screams tourist like holding a phone translation app up to your face all day. Worse if you can't even use the translation app. Babbel's tips and tools are inspired by the real-life stuff you actually need when communicating. With a focus on conversation, you'll be ready to talk wherever you go. So like I said, I am working on my German and also brushing up on my Japanese, because I think my husband and I are going to go to Japan next year. And let's just say, totomo ii desu ne. Need proof that Babbel gets you talking? Studies from Yale, Michigan State, and other leading universities continue to prove Babbel works. One study found that using Babbel for 15 hours is equivalent to a full semester at college. With over 16 million subscriptions sold, Babbel's 14 award-winning language courses are backed by a 20-day money-back guarantee. This year, get talking with Babbel. Let's get more of you talking in a new language. Babbel is gifting our listeners 60% off subscriptions at babbel.com/hysteria. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/hysteria, spelled BABBEL.com/hysteria. Babbel.com/hysteria. Rules and restrictions may apply. Well, I can't wait to see the Amanda Knox project, because we were both at 20th Studios, so we know how long it takes for things to see the light of day in Hollywood, and so I cannot wait. It will be. I will binge it like I binged The Pit.
Somebody was saying just last night how amazing that is.
Oh,
but also
Monica.
too, I want to shout out for you.
What?
If anybody hasn't seen the Brooke Shields documentary,
Oh,
I can't
thank
remember what
you.
it's called. What's
Pretty
it called
Baby Brooke
properly?
Shields.
That's right. That is extraordinary.
That was, and the first time we watched it, we all cried. The first time we saw the rough cut, and then you just, and then it goes out into the world, and you're like, oh my God, I can do so many different things. You can do so many different things. But you know what you can't do? Segue. You can't cook, can you?
No. I mean, I make a few things, and the few things that I make are, you would still be friends with me after if I fed them to you. But by and large, no.
So this is why I know that you are not a cooker, like a real one. And so that's why I died when I opened up New York Magazine, and your 5-day food diary is there in Grub Street. And I'm like, what is Monica doing talking about food? And then I read it, and I howled with laughter. So we're going to ask some questions. Okay. All right. You love ice cream, but specific ice cream. What kind of ice cream do you like?
Peanut butter and chocolate from Baskin-Robbins.
Which I died, because I think Baskin-Robbins is the most Gen X ice cream brand. Like, we predate Ben and Jerry's. Like,
oh yeah,
Baskin-Robbins was when my sister and my sister always listens to the pod, so sis, you'll know, we would go to Olin Mills to get our pictures taken, and then we'd get Baskin-Robbins, and my flavor was Jamocha almond fudge.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was never really, because I felt like, the almonds, that's too healthy. That
Fair
shouldn't
enough.
be in ice cream. But
and you still love it. I still love it.
Oh, yeah. I
It's
mean,
my favorite.
I'd like to say I'm so busy that I justify the DoorDash, but also PS, #/lazy. I will DoorDash Baskin Robbins. And so it's a heartbreak for me when at the market they're out of peanut butter and chocolate in the little pints. But I think too, I mean, I know families still do this, but it was like, that was the treat. The treat was to sort of go to Baskin Robbins after, so.
And you got to see what flavors, because they didn't always have all 31 flavors.
Exactly. And you could try them with a little pink spoon,
It was
great.
It was the greatest. There's a Baskin Robbins in Manhattan, and I will go to it every now and again when I am here, because also the mint chocolate chip.
Yeah, the mint chocolate chip is really good in the cake. So that's my cousin. He was a mint chocolate chip birthday cake person, and that is sort of that's really good too. So with the frozen frosting.
You know what we're going to do next year to celebrate Amanda Knox whenever she comes out? We're going to get a Baskin Robbins cake, and I'll put buttercream roses on it.
Oh, yeah.
And we will eat the whole thing.
I know. Or when I have you on the pod.
That too.
I'll bring you if we
Either
do.
way.
I'd like to do them in person. So when you come on Reclaiming.
We'll talk about when I'm going to be in LA. Here's another thing that you did that you talked about in Grub Street that at first I was like, what is she talking about? And then I was like, wait, I need to know more because maybe this would help. You put sprinkles on your coffee some days.
I do. I am a big fan of trying to find little ways that are a molecule of joy. And usually those kinds of things will somehow connect to my childhood. So it might be buying balloons one day. Sometimes I put whipped cream and sprinkles on my coffee in the morning when I feel like I need an extra hug today, and it feels like a hug. I have copious amounts of multicolored sprinkles, not the chocolate jimmies, the rainbow sprinkles.
You need the rainbow one. Those are the ones that bring the real joy. But so funny thing, because I just need you to know that since we live a coast apart now, I try to bring Monica into my life whenever I can. So when I read that, I was like, you know what? I'm not sure. I need to know more about how she puts it on the coffee. But I did get frozen yogurt with lots of sprinkles that day.
Oh,
and you know what? They made me happy.
Yeah.
They really
100%. Yeah, they do. They really do.
I have a little lightning round for you.
Okay.
Thing you're most looking forward to about spring, even though you live in California?
The hummingbirds. There's so many hummingbirds that come out. And I love hummingbirds. They're just magical creatures.
Okay, I have to agree about the birds. I can hear them chirping. They're coming back. I love it. Okay, favorite treat?
I would say I have kind of been on a Butterfingers kick.
Delicious.
So,
my candy bar treat is a whatchamacallit.
Oh, I love a whatchamacallit. I mean, my normal go-to is the ice cream and cupcakes, and when one of the many, many things I make are Rice Krispie treats. So I'm a really good Rice Krispie treat maker.
See, but I feel like you're like me. I mostly live alone, and so because my husband works in the city and I'm usually upstate, and so it's like if I make myself a treat, I need to know exactly who I'm foisting like at least 50% of them off on, because I can't have them all alone in my. It's like too much because I'll eat them all. Okay, what show are you binging?
The White Lotus, like everybody else in the world.
This week's episode was a lot to handle.
Yeah, it was a lot. I have like multiple people that I'm sort of going, okay. I have one friend who was sort of saying, okay, could you watch it already? Could you watch it already? And so we can have the discussion and the whole thing. So
where would you most like to see the next White Lotus set?
This is kind of crazy, but I feel like a Disneyland resort, that I just think there could be something really interesting there.
That would be amazing. That is the best suggestion I have heard yet. I think that would be, I want them to stay at the Polynesian and something to happen on the monorail. Okay. All right. 10 out of 10. I hope Mike White is listening, because that would be great. Okay. Book on your nightstand that you haven't read yet.
Okay. So the truth is, like, at night, I'm a Kindle reader.
Okay.
So
fair.
I don't really know what the next, I have a whole stack of real books that I consider. And then I feel like my read before I go to bed books or
can
usually
you sleep,
Regency era
can you
romance
sleep and read
novels.
Romance is always good. You can read a Kindle and still fall asleep?
Yeah. I have a whole, I have like a sleep mask and I have a whole thing. I've like trained myself to it's, roll over, throw the Kindle, pull the mask down,
And you're done.
Or I'd say maybe 1/10 of the time I'm reawakened by the noise of the Kindle falling on the floor. So
that happens to me with my phone. Okay, so here's my last question. What would 80-year-old Monica tell 50-year-old Monica?
I think probably two things of stop worrying so much, and the miracles haven't stopped. So get ready. More miracles.
Okay. I love that. We're all here for more miracles. Monica Lewinsky, your new pod, Reclaiming, is out anywhere you listen to your pods.